What's up, YouTube? I'm Mike, and today I'm back with another steroid overview video, basically. Today we're going to be talking about another one of my favorite DHT derivatives. I run this drug year-round. That's going to come as no shock to most of you. And that is Masteron, also known as Drostanolone. This is, as I said, another one of the DHT derivatives. For the chemists in the room, this is 2-alpha-methyl DHT. Despite having a methylation on the second carbon in the alpha position, this drug is not known to be hepatotoxic. It is very funny how alkylation and methylation work with steroid hormones. If it's on the 17th carbon, your liver's going to fall out. If it happens to be on the second carbon in this case, totally cool. We can inject this all day long and have zero fear of, God, my battery's probably gonna die in this, zero fear of any kind of hepatotoxicity. Because this is a DHT derivative, it also means it will not further 5-alpha reduce into DHT, and it's also not a substrate for aromatase, which means that you will not be getting any estrogen conversion. Because of these two things, this makes Masteron what is considered a dry drug. It is most commonly used in contest prep, though as I'm going to explain today, I think that is a mistake. So one of the important things to understand about Masteron is that it is not a good substrate for 3-hydroxysteroid dehydrogenase. DHT is one of the most potent anabolic agents on the planet. However, it is a substrate for 3-hydroxysteroid dehydrogenase, which means when the parent DHT molecule moves into the skeletal tissue, it is deactivated by 3-hydroxysteroid dehydrogenase, also known as 3-HSD, which is what I'm going to say in the future on this video. So 3-HSD will inactivate DHT and basically prevent it from binding to the androgen receptor in skeletal muscle tissue. This is why DHT is really just kind of a fucking pain in the ass. The only really good thing it seems to do is support sexual function. If DHT binds in your hair follicles, it will exacerbate male hair pattern baldness. If it binds to the receptor in your prostate gland, it can cause prostate hypertrophy. Generally, this is benign prostate hypertrophy, and it does a very good job of covering you in a nice pelt of body hair, which I am getting more and more of every day. It seems that one of the reasons that the steroid mad scientists started tinkering with the DHT molecule is to figure out how we can get some anabolism out of it, and by adding that methylation group, it prevents it from being a substrate for 3-HSD, which means that it has anabolic effects in skeletal muscle tissue. The reason that it is most commonly used as a cutting drug is because of the fact that it is a very dry drug. Masteron will give you a phenomenal looking physique. It takes the water off your body. It gives you that nice, dry, like shrink-wrapped look to your muscles. It really accentuates your vascularity. And it is one of the, if not the best, contest prep drugs in my opinion. Some people choose to use primobolan instead of Masteron. There are reasons that I don't, primarily because of the fact that Masteron to me is a much better feeling drug. Masteron for me is kind of like the go-to steroid antidepressant. Like if you were trying to use steroids for antidepressant purposes, which of course no one should be, but if you're me and you want to put a drug into your stack that seems to have antidepressant purposes, Masteron is definitively the go-to drug. It just makes you happy. It's like happiness in a bottle. I cannot express. The first time I ever ran Masteron, I set out to run 300 milligrams a week, but I was already in the middle of a cycle, and so I wasn't really trying to wait for the 300 milligrams to climb over the next 4 weeks, and so I decided to front load it. And I pinned 600 milligrams in one shot, and I woke up in the middle of the fucking night that night, just giddy. Like I was just laying there just smiling. It was the weirdest thing. My wife, I always test, you know, steroids, not on my wife basically, but with my wife. Because I'm constantly talking about how I feel, and we spend 24 hours a day together, so it's real easy for her to track my moods and my behaviors and how I react to different things. And after like the second or third time I had put Masteron into the cycle and then taken it out, she agreed, like, you seem to have a much better mentality with Masteron in the cycle. I am already prone to depression. I have this bizarre kind of depression where I can be like totally fucking cool all day long, play with the kids. When I was working, go to work, come home, go out to dinner, watch TV, you know, go to the gym. Basically, none of the world's problems bother me during the day. But after about 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock at night, my wife and I are laying in bed talking, I will go right into the fucking shitter like you cannot believe. It's like the later it gets in the day, it's just like the weight of the world just starts sinking onto my psyche, and I will just go into these miserable fucking downward spiral conversations. She's had to learn mechanisms to like try to snap me out of this shit, to remind me like, hey Mike, like it's that time of night, you probably are not this concerned about it. Like, why don't we wait and see if you still give a shit about this in the morning? This is typically when I do all of my pondering, worrying about what's going on, you know, what's going on with the Biden administration, what's going on with, why do we have trans, this and that, and like every stupid thing that you could possibly worry about, all the things I have no control over, they just settle on me at night. Masteron does a very good job of at least helping to offset that. We have yet to find the drug that prevents it, but with Masteron in the mix, I maintain a substantially better outlook on life across the board. This is very, very important to me when I'm running Trenbolone, because Trenbolone, of all the steroids that I do, Trenbolone exacerbates that depression side more than anything in the world. And so nights, before I started using Masteron, my fucking God, like I was literally one time, my wife and I used to go to the strip club every once in a while, just like people watching shit, because, you know, she grew up really conservative. She'd never really been to nightclubs like that. And I finally convinced her to go. I was like, look, you're going to have a lot of fun. It's actually surprisingly fun. It's like the people watching Mecca. And so occasionally we would go to a men's club at night, have some drinks and tip some girls, and you know, they sit around, they tell you all their stories. Here goes my battery. They sit around and tell you all their stories about, you know, why they're stripping, and they're always like, you know, entrepreneurs that just need a couple of bucks to like get their business off the ground, or you know, they're getting their PhD in astrophysics. It's always some bullshit rap. And I love listening to it. This is one of my favorite things is we'll just get girls, because I'm with my wife and she's all dressed fancy, and the girls will just come over and fawn on her. And so they'll just sit there and they'll just chat us up, tell us all these fucking crazy stories. Let me change my battery, I'll be right back. So we sit at the club, like I said, and we would just hear all these crazy stories. Why am I talking about strippers in this video anyway? See, this is what happens when I have to cut my video. I completely lose my whole rap. Oh, I remember now. So here we are, like I was on Tren, I was not taking Masteron. It was like Test, Tren, Anavar probably, something like that. And we're at the strip club having a great time. She's drinking, I'm pounding one Red Bull after the other. We're seeing some crazy shit. We've heard some we were having a good time. And we were standing up on this like it's kind of like a VIP, it's not VIP, it's just like a second floor looking down on the dance floor, I guess you'd call it, the main floor. And just out of the blue in the middle of the fucking club for absolutely no good reason, I just went totally into the shitter, into this depression about how meaningless life is and nothing matters and why do we even bother? It's just like, and it's usually around weeks 8, 9 of a Tren E cycle is when that shit will start setting in. I thought I was going to be able to offset it with the proper dose of prolactin, cabergoline, but in this last cycle that proved to be untrue. I had my prolactin dialed right into the sweet spot, and I still started experiencing that depression. So Masteron is what I keep in my cycle year-round to combat that. So again, I digress. Masteron is a great feel-good drug. A lot of people seem to use Masteron exclusively for bulk, cutting, as if it's not a potent muscle builder. I cannot definitively say one way or another if it's a potent muscle builder. I don't know why on paper it would be any less anabolic or less effective at building muscle than testosterone. So I would think on paper, Masteron would actually be a great drug to run in bulking cycles so that you can keep your overall testosterone dose low, given the fact that Masteron causes little to no side effects that you have to manage. Now that I say little to no side effects, there is one unfortunately nefarious trait that Masteron has, and that is that it seems to have SERM-like activity. SERM stands for Selective Estrogen Receptor Modulator. It does not appear that Masteron is an aromatase inhibitor. It appears that it blocks estrogen from binding to the estrogen receptor. And in the limited amount of experimenting that I've been able to do with this, because I do not like playing with my estrogen, it seems to me, again, this is my own personal bro science testing on my body, so I'm making no definitive claims. It seems to primarily prevent estrogen from binding to the estrogen receptor in breast tissue. Because I have taken Masteron and had absolutely no gyno at all, but my estrogen level rose to the point where I started getting the gastrointestinal symptoms of high estrogen. And so I think that this drug seems to have very specific estrogen, selective estrogen receptor modulator type action, and it seems to primarily occur in the breast tissue. I do not know if this is true. Obviously, it would make good sense, being that Masteron was originally developed for women with ER-positive breast cancers. So the whole purpose, the whole reason this drug exists was an attempt at fighting off breast cancer. So if you are running Masteron at high doses, or if you're running a high dose of Masteron relative to your testosterone, you need to be very careful, because you can end up with low estrogen symptoms. That's not to say necessarily that your estrogen will be low. Again, I have not gotten blood work to verify this one way or another. This is coming purely from just the way I feel, from my dick meter that happens to be very, very good at telling me where my estrogen is at. I believe that the activity of Masteron is blocking the estrogen and not preventing its creation. So another thing to keep in mind, if you're running Masteron, let's say for example you're running 300 milligrams of test and 500 milligrams of Masteron, and the Masteron is preventing you from having estrogen-related side effects. And so you're basically using the Masteron to add anabolic activity to your cycle and to act as an estrogen blocker / AI, whatever you want to call it. If at some point you decide to take the Masteron out, there will be an excess amount of estrogen already floating around in your system. This can cause a rebound effect, because the second those receptors are not blocked, the estrogen that's already in your bloodstream is immediately going to bind to those receptors. Whereas if you had been using an aromatase inhibitor, if you had been preventing the creation of estrogen to begin with, and you take the Masteron out, then there's nothing in your system to suddenly start binding to the estrogen receptor, so you would not expect to have the rebound effect. So I run a combination of both. So I run some amount of aromatase inhibitor, and then I knock the rest of it down with Masteron to kind of try to get the best of both worlds. What that seems to achieve for me is the least amount of gyno possible. If I try to just control my estrogen with the Arimidex, I tend to still have a little bit of puffiness even when I think that's permanent, honestly, but even when I get my E2 right in the sweet spot, if I'm really lean, I can still see some puffiness to my nipples. Masteron seems to all but remove that. So I don't know if it's actually shrinking the gland or how it's working, if it's just more efficient at blocking the estrogen that is making its way to the glandular tissue in the breast tissue, into the nipples, or what. But for me, combining some amount of AI with Masteron seems to be the best way overall at preventing gynecomastia. So I think that running Masteron during a blast is actually a very efficacious thing to do. Now, some people are going to argue that Primo would be a better muscle builder. I can't remember if Primo, though, surely it does not, is not activated by 3-HSD. I'd have to look that up later. Anyway, some people like to use Primo when they're bulking. Some people will use Masteron. I think they're relatively interchangeable, although I think that Primo actually has an AI effect where the Masteron has a serum effect. So it's kind of up to you. I personally just feel better on Masteron. It also seems to drive down SHBG, or it's just a dick promoter. I don't know which one. I don't know whether it's because the Masteron reduces SHBG or if there's something about the DHT molecule that seems to be very good for erections. But Masteron has an anecdotal reputation of making your dick bigger. I have certainly experienced this. My wife has even said that she kind of sees what I'm getting at. I don't really think that it makes your dick bigger. I just think that if you've been blasting for a while, steroids seem to have a capacity to reduce it reduces the full erection. Like, you don't get what you're fully capable of. And so Masteron seems to unlock that potential. I don't know how to explain it, but I'm just telling you, please, in the comments section, if somebody can better explain this or understands why. I've read this countless times on forums. Masteron seems to, whether it gets your dick bigger or not, it seems to definitively allow you to have fuller, harder erections. So that's the second reason that it is always in my cycles, because I think that the sexual performance enhancement of the drug is very superior. The only thing that even competes with it, in my estimation, as far as erection quality goes, Trenbolone obviously gives you an excessive amount of desire, but because of the prolactin, the progestogenic effect of Trenbolone, it can definitively break your dick. Masteron doesn't give you this crazy high libido, but it gives you really great, hard, strong erections. So that's why you start to see why I piece all of these things together. So if I'm running Tren, I'm running Masteron. Now what I'm finding out is that if you want a drug that will supply the libido, so you've got you've got Tren supplying the intensity, you've got Masteron supplying the hardness and rigidity, insert a little Proviron into the mix, and now you will be more sensitive, have longer and stronger lasting orgasms. Proviron is a phenomenal drug to have in the mix for any type of sexual related activity. So I've gone on way too long about these details of Masteron. You can use it for bulking, you can use it for cutting. I run Masteron 300 milligrams per week. You can definitively run it higher. I have run it higher. Masteron seems to be one of those drugs that the sky's the limit. I just don't ever really experience any negative side effects at all on Masteron, beside one devilish thing. Aside from the serum activity, Masteron will blast your fucking lipid profile out of the stratosphere. Masteron is one of the most negative. Masteron seems to affect my cholesterol level more negatively than most any other drug I run. It's one of the reasons that I had actually sworn it off in the beginning. I started running it and I absolutely loved it, and I got my cholesterol checked. It was like 280 and I was like, holy shit, I'm gonna drop dead. I've got to take the Masteron out. And eventually I got to the point where I just didn't care about my cholesterol. So my cholesterol, my God, on the cycle that I'm running right now, there is no fucking telling. I would imagine my cholesterol is as high as cholesterol can get. I don't know how it couldn't be. I'm currently running 500 milligrams of Test E, 200 milligrams of Deca, 125 milligrams of Tren E, 300 milligrams of Masteron, 50 milligrams of Proviron, 15 milligrams of MK677 a week. I mean, it's like I've got everything imaginable in this cycle. So the last few times that I've checked my cholesterol, it's always been in the 280s up to 300. I just don't even care anymore. So if you do care, be very aware of the fact that Masteron will probably wreck your lipid profile. The other thing that Masteron has a really bad name for is knocking the hair off some people's heads. I have had a very thin hair to begin with. When I was 25 years old working for Sunbelt Material Handling, there was guys that were in there every day telling me my hair was falling out, my hair was falling out, my hair was falling out. I have about the same amount of hair now that I had when I was 25. You can see that it is very thin up here. I'm waiting. The deal that I have with my wife is that if I get any amount of baldness on the crown of my head, then I can shave the whole thing. She wants me to keep my hair as long as possible. I want to shave it right now today. I've talked about this before. So I definitely have the male pattern baldness, but I've looked at pictures from before I started steroids, and I've been on DHT derivatives and Tren and all of the compounds that are known to wreck your hair. And I've been on all those compounds almost constantly for the past 4 years. And I would say the worst change is probably in this region right here. This spot here, I think, is definitely getting worse on both sides. This side is not as bad. This side here, you can probably see hair falling off my head right now. This side, I think, is where, so what it appears to be doing is causing recession that's going to come around like this. And I'm going to have like a little sprig of hair coming right off the center. And then the male pattern baldness coming from the back. But rest assured, you will never see that, because the second that starts happening, I'm going to bick my head down. This is the reason. This is one of the reasons I wear. I hate hair. I have bad hair. My hair never fucking looks good. It's never looked good a day in my life. It's never going to look good. So 9 times out of 10, I just wear a fucking visor. And a lot of people are like, what's with the visor? Like, I fucking hate ball caps, dude. I don't know what it is. Like, if I wear a full cap, I just spend all day taking it off and scratching my head. It just makes my head itch. It's like you sweat under there. It's not comfortable. The visor is perfect. It keeps the fucking sun out of my eyes. It hides my receding hairline. And boom, we're good to go. I get no sweating or no itching. So that's why I wear a visor. And now I got my new Drostanolone visor. I'm about to make a bunch of these, I think. So yeah, so for some people, Masteron seems to knock the hair off their head. Honestly, I think this is a myth. I don't think any steroids knocks the hair off people's heads, because it should be knocking it off mine. I think you're either just losing your hair or you're not. And if you are losing your hair, it probably doesn't matter what compound you run, it's going to exponentially increase the rate at which you lose it. So if you want to do all the dutastarides, finasterides, whatever the fuck they are, if you want to do all the creams and the RU, whatever the hell it is, RU2881 or some shit, if you want to do all that crap daily, I got a buddy on Discord who's just talking about what a pain in the ass he does this whole protocol daily. I get it, I guess. I mean, I understand that people really want to save their hair. I honestly would rather have a fucking wig. We've talked about it too. Like, one of these days, I'm going to pop on this video and I'm going to have like some fucking crazy new hair. And it's going to be because I just fucking bick my head down and put on a fucking wig. Like, I would rather do that and just like lean into it, Like, I don't want like a toupee where you try to pretend like it's your real hair. No offense to anybody who does that. I just think like if you're losing your hair, just like anything else in life, you just got to lean into it. So like if I ever get to the point where my hair becomes unsightly and I shave my head and my wife doesn't like it, what I'm going to do is buy like 3 different wigs. You know what I mean? Because you got to unload the gun. Somebody's going to try to make fun of you for wearing a wig. And so you can't like hide behind it and have them like is he wearing a hairpiece? Is he wearing a rug? You gotta just lean into it. So like I'll get like a long blonde one, like a fucking Fabio hair, and then like some kind of like fucking military cut. It'd be like 3 completely different fucking wigs. Then you just show up to a random event where people know you and looking one way, and then you just show up with completely fucking different hair, act like what, what's going on? These people were like, didn't he have like long blonde hair like 2 weeks ago, or didn't he have a crew cut like yesterday? And what the fuck is going on with this guy? I've even thought about like doing intentional shit just like as a gag, like be at the mall or something and like just pull your wig off, just be like sitting at the food court, and because I get noticed everywhere I go. And so I just think it'd be funny, make people uncomfortable if you're like sitting at the food court and like all these people have noticed you and they're looking at your family eating Chipotle, and all of a sudden you start scratching your head and just pull your fucking wig off. What the fuck is going on? Anyway, I'm rambling the fuck on now. Hair loss. Yeah, Masteron can apparently knock the fucking hair off your head. Masteron is another drug that technically women can run. I say technically, I mean the drug was designed for women, and when it was given to women who had breast cancer, it was given at 300 milligrams per week. I would definitely not fucking recommend 300 milligrams of Masteron per week. My understanding is that Masteron is more androgenic than Primobolan, and my wife is turning into a man on 20 milligrams of Primo. So, fuck, dude. If you take 300 milligrams of Masteron, like, I'm guessing, like, you definitely don't give a shit about your voice or anything, because it's probably going to be gone. So, I don't know what the safe effective dose of Masteron is for women, but if you take it, you can expect all of the normal masculinizing effects. The deepening voice, the body hair, face hair growth, clitoral enlargement, the whole nine. It's gonna do all the same thing that any other anabolic steroid does. You're gonna get it. What else can I tell you? I think that's about it. Yeah, that's it. So that's Masteron. I run it year round in some dose or another. I probably, honestly, I'm guessing 200 milligrams of Masteron per week is probably gonna be the floor for me. I'm currently running at 300, but I'm on blast. If I ever decide to come down to some kind of a sane amount of gear, I would probably leave Masteron in at around 200 milligrams, maybe test at 200 or 300, and Tren at like 50, Proviron probably at 25 or 50. That's probably that's probably something like my next. I'm gonna have some Deca in there too, though. 100 milligrams of Deca, 50 milligrams of Tren, 200 milligrams of Test, 200 milligrams of Masteron, something like that. That's see. So when I get down, like when you get to that point, it's like fuck it, just blast year round, dude. Like what difference does it make? If I tried to run that as a cruise, I'm guessing my lipid profile would still be stratospheric. So running all of the shit that I'm running now, the only problem that I'm having now, I do need to double check my AST, ALT, just because I am taking Proviron. It's not supposed to be hepatotoxic at all. Some people were telling me MK677 can cause some hepatotoxicity. So here, probably in the next month, I need to get a panel and check my AST, ALT levels just to make sure that they're somewhere in the remotely normal range. I'm experiencing no side effects of liver inflammation, but that doesn't mean it's not there. So who knows, man? I may just be on a gram to go until I go. Seems like a good plan to me. So there you have it. That's everything that I can tell you about Masteron. If you've never run it, it is a really, really great compound. I would highly recommend Masteron in one of your earlier cycles. If you're looking for a drug to add to your first cutting cycle, Masteron is a great one. If you're looking for a drug to add to one of your early bulking cycles and you're not ready to go to Tren, or you don't want to deal with a 19 NOR for whatever reason, you just don't want to take as much test, and you want to have a DHT derivative that's going to give you some better libido and erections and happiness and all of that, then I definitely recommend Masteron. Masteron is probably the biggest no-brainer drug because they're just like, psychologically, it's just a winner. It's not going to cause you any problems in your relationship, any problems at work. It's just, you just cannot really go wrong with Masteron as long as you keep an eye on your estrogen and as long as you don't care about having fucking 200, 300 level cholesterol. So there you have it. Thank you for watching. As always, we'll see you on the next one.